Commission, probably maybe 30 years ago, 25 years ago, because a lot of it was the Cine and Fleshbrook natural area, you know, the woods. The historic part was went along with it. So we've been doing that for quite a number of years. And it's pretty much, other than the tower, we rebuilt the tower 15 years ago or so. And other than that, it's pretty much the way it was when it was first opened in August of 1970. There's been Highland Woods added to the general area just to the north of it, of course, which is a land trust property, but it's still managed as one cohesive trail system and so on. So issues over the years have arisen about various aspects of the fort area. So we finally, I think it was Brian mentioned, we ought to just do it right and get a professional to work with us and develop a master plan for it. And the advantage of that is, one, you have a professional, and secondly, you have a plan that you can go to use for getting grant funding with. So we commissioned a master plan a couple of years ago with Sarah Bradford and Associates out of Providence. They actually did the master plan for Highland Woods right next to us and did an excellent job of that. And so we were quite pleased, but we put it open to bid. They made a proposal, and so they're on board with that. And they've started it all off with basically documenting the existing conditions. And we'll go through that report real quickly and show you where we are. So there are several issues involved, and we'll touch on all those. But I think probably everybody's here that's going to be here. So please interrupt, ask questions as we go along if you have them. We'll go through briefly that existing conditions report, and go ahead. It's lots of pictures and stuff. And then at the end, I'll run down the list of issues that we feel are up for addressing in the master plan, and that both of those documents, that list and the master plan, were posted and is available online. So I don't know how many of you have had a chance to go over that. But let's Andrew, you want to so I can screen share now. Okay. Let's see.
I did, Gary. I did just get a text from somebody, Corey Alexander, who went up to town hall, didn't realize it was on Zoom. So she asked me if the meeting had been rescheduled. So I just sent her. She'll probably be calling in, but she'll just catch up. She'll just catch up.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I've trying to do this here. I've never shared screen before, so all right, I'll try it again. Oops, I lost my Zoom. I'm not sharing screen, am I?
Not yet.
Oh, no. There we go. Okay, let me try it again. Share screen. Share. Open Zoom to share your screen. Open Zoom preferences. Okay, security and privacy. All right. Okay, I've got a security and privacy thing. Allow, yeah, below, yes. Okay. All right, I'm having a little trouble with this.
Gary, do you want me to pull up a document, see if I can share or not? Is it the master plan that you had sent out, or
Yeah,
master plan? Is it the one labeled Fort Barton master plan issues?
yes, right.
Okay, let me see if I can or not. If I have the same problem you do or not. Let's see. Let's see. Fort Barton.
Okay, that's the issues list.
Yeah,
Okay, so not that one?
Yeah, the other one, there should be two of them there.
You want the Bradford report, right?
Yeah,
Background report?
yeah, the existing conditions report. We'll go over this and quickly after we do that one. Can you?
It's not in the same.
The link was in the agenda that went out,
Okay.
because I just scanned through it to refresh myself.
Let's see.
Do you have it, Brian?
I don't have it open, but I can get back to it.
Is this, it says a full report available online at the
Yeah.
town website?
Yeah, it's a PDF.
that's right, Susan. It's the full report that's on the town website.
Okay. Doesn't look like that link is working for me. Okay, let me just check maybe in the other agenda that you sent out with the Zoom info. Would it be in there?
Yes. At the bottom of it, it says people are encouraged to look at this, and there's a very long
A
link.
link.
Okay. Barton Public Workshop. Okay, this one, right? Okay. Just copying the link, see if it works for me. Okay. This is also labeled existing conditions. Is this it, Gary?
That's it. Yep.
Okay. Tell me where to go. Let's see, I can make it bigger too.
All right. I still have your first. Okay. Now it's nothing. Back to the home screen. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. Go ahead, page 2, or start scrolling. All right. Next page. Okay, that's just an overview. Let's see. Go to the next one. Okay, this was one of the more important documents we had that Sarah did, and that's to get a very detailed topographic study. So this will show up in the other illustrations. So go ahead, next one, please, Susan. And this is talking about the tree inventory and so on. This is just to show you what the views are. That's as you go up the road to the top of the hill, that's looking up to the redoubt area, and the tower is right about there. And this is the trees on the side of the redoubt there. Okay, next one. And this is the a whole tree survey. One of the issues we have is over the years, trees have done what trees do, and that's get bigger and bigger. So what used to be kind of an open vista is now, you can still see the kind of river sound, but a lot of the view shed there up there that was available at the time of the Revolution is now, forested. So we want to look at one, just cleaning up some of the trees that aren't native to the area, but more importantly, to open up the view there to make that more dramatic, and to see what was visible during the Revolutionary War. Okay, next one.
The ones that are in yellow are in poor condition.
Go ahead. Okay, so no, that was backwards. Go to the next one.
Next one.
Yeah. Okay, now the next one. Okay, there's a historical marker we have that explains what was going on during the Revolution and basically the Battle of Rhode Island, how it occurred, and a short version of it. And there's a tower. It's still in pretty good condition. It's going to be a long-term, maintenance issue like any structure is. And it's coming up on, it's in good shape now. It was all pressure treated wood, of course. There's some things to think about in regards to that. So, okay, next one. Okay, this is really, can you center that up, Susan? This is a really very important one. And the,
I don't know why it's okay.
hello. So there's a study. Go to the next one temporarily, Susan, please.
Mhm.
Okay, there was a study done of Revolutionary War fortifications in Narragansett Bay way back toward the end of in the 1800s. And Edwards Field study of Revolutionary War defenses of Rhode Island. And this was an illustration of their study for Barton. And I had seen that before and had assumed that was kind of the classic standard fort look with there's good military rationale for defensive purposes to have shapes like this where you can train cannon along the side, down the side of a fortification and so on. Anyway, but as it turns out that they may have been trying to do that at the fort. You go up there and walk around, and you don't see anything like that at all, or notice the particular shape of it. But okay, now go back to that previous one, please.
Mhm.
Okay, so you can sort of see that the shape, this doesn't actually show the whole thing, but here's I know it's kind of confusing if you haven't been up there a lot. I've been up there for 30 years now, so it makes a little more sense to me. But here's the road going up, and it goes down in front. This is the cliff, and this is the parking area down here. That's right. You can't see my pointer, can you? So the paved access going up down the left side there. The red area is the area that was probably the original. Because of their elevations above the surrounding landscape, they most certainly were the original earthworks. And there down on the lower left side, that's where the road comes up and goes up. So they were obviously disturbed there to provide access for building the original tower and so on. And then creating this gravel driveway back to the back. And originally, the fort property was only 3 acres. Well, actually about 2 acres of the fort proper. And then they got way back in the 60s when this project was going on, they got through Green Acres funding the 80 acres or so, which is now, well, for Barton Woods, call it Cine Brook Natural Area now. And, but it was separated. So the property to the north there, on the other side of the stone wall on the north and east side, actually was private. But the town was able to purchase a 20-foot, 20 feet out of that property that would allow down on the southeastern corner there, would allow access back to the 80 acres of the woods back there. So that was the original plan, the Fort Barton historic site and the natural area behind that. So so this area was private. And then when 12 years ago, when the land trust was able to purchase this, it was the Clark property. That was a huge benefit because now, if you've ever been up to Fort and gone back to the woods, you know that this route back to the natural area is kind of a roller coaster walk, and especially this area right here. We had to rebuild that stairway a few years ago because it's a steep decline back there, and then it goes right back up, and then it goes up and over. So it's a bit of a hike. And one of the arguments for getting grant monies to purchase Highland Woods by the land trust was to improve access to the historic area and to the woods. So now this path, I keep pointing to that, the path along the north side there, right near the cemetery, there's a little trail there that goes over, then over to the east where it goes through the wall. Yeah, keep going to the east, over to the right, to the east. Yeah, see where the trail goes through the wall there. There you go. Yeah, that goes down into Highland Woods, and two advantages. If you see the fort, if you want to go to Highland Woods, that's a much easier route. And two, if you want to just see the fort, if you go in through Highland Woods, a couple of lots to the north, it's a lot easier for, elderly people and so on to get up and see the fort. So that's the basic layout. This area up here, the red area, is kind of the original redoubt, or the redoubt that was constructed during the Revolution. And there were artillery positions behind that, and so that was pretty much what was there originally. Now, okay, so we can go on to the next one, please.
Back to this.
Okay, so you can see that there's some credibility to that shape that that study did way back in. A long time ago. So this is a view here. Down the bottom is the view from the tower. Another, I'll tell you what, let's go back to that drawing again, Susan, please. Okay, you can see where the road comes up and curves around, and then the first little path wise off. You can see a path going up through the red there, right down the northwest corner of the red is
Here?
yeah, see, right? No, the one that goes through well, that's one, but up
Makes the
there,
break in the red.
see the break in the red on the north end?
Yep.
Yeah, right there. That's basically a path that people have worn by just walking up there when they don't want to walk all the way around the roadway. And then you see two more on the left side, the west side there, where they've walked up, and it's started to, it's created damage to the redoubt. So one of the issues we've got is what we can do to protect the redoubt, and also on the other side of the paved road, that brown area, that's a sloped area that is actually a kind of a safety issue. So right now the only thing that's up there is snow fencing, and so some kind of a way to protect one on the left, on the west side of the paved access, for people from getting down and getting on a cliff and maybe accidentally falling off of it. And then on the right side or the east side of the paved driveway, some kind of maybe a little fence thing there or something that would discourage people from climbing up the earthworks and encouraging damage to that, erosion and damage. So, okay, all right. Now we can go back to the next one. Okay, so we can go into the next one now. And so there's the whole shape, of so you can see how that, they had something in mind there as when they were putting in the fortifications, a classic look of a defensive redoubt area. So another issue is that cemetery. That's a historic cemetery over there. It has nothing to do with the Revolutionary War, but it is a historic cemetery, the Honorable Thomas Durfee Cemetery. And he actually was, he helped fund, I was just looking up some of this afternoon, helped fund some of the expenses for the Rhode Island defensive, getting troops together and so on. So it's kind of interesting. Okay, the next one. So there's you can see a picture of the roadway going up. The earthworks are on the left. You can see the tower there, the historic marker. That same historic marker is back on where if people come into the redoubt area from Highland Woods, we've got it back there too. So they'll see it as they walk right through the stone wall there by the cemetery into the historic site. And it's a pretty good explanation of what went on during the battle, the Battle of Rhode Island. It basically, historically, it got manned right after the Battle of Bunker Hill in Boston, when they chased the Brits out of Boston. That following spring, they came down and took over Newport. And of course, that was a huge panic and a great mass exodus of money and people and farms and slaves and everything coming over into to Newport to get away from that. And so there was lots of concern. The Massachusetts Bay Colony, wanted to. I think they were the first one that offered that said we ought to have a Highland, a Highland fort there as defensive to keep the British from coming ashore and going to the mainland to Boston, back to Boston and Providence. So anyway, that's what really got it started. The fortification, of course, was manned pretty, well into the war. And in the Battle of Rhode Island, that was a basic, it didn't figure in the Battle of Rhode Island other than providing cover for the invasion forces and so on. There was never any, they fired cannons periodically just to harass the troops over on the mainland. But there was never, warfare going on at Fort Barton. It was a defensive position. So the bottom picture there is the gravel driveway that goes back to the stairway down to the trail that goes back into the woods. Okay, next, please. And here's the this is the pathway that goes along the north wall, and that green sign there is where the trail comes in from Highland Woods. And that little box is there's a trail guide box there. So if people come up to the fort first and they go back to the woods, they can get a trail map there. But here, this is the bottom picture shows the damage that's starting to occur with the earthworks. So we really got to, try to get a handle on that and fix it up, repair it, but then also provide some good access. And the access is one of the main issues, because any way you look at it, it's a climb up there. And people tend to, if there's a short path, rather than walking all the way around the walkway, they'll, especially if you're young and I'm not going to walk all the way around, you climb up the redoubt. And the more we used to have a little stairway there, but it rotted out. And then we started talking about, well, what do we want to do? Do we want to make a different stairway? And that discussion started the thing that finally says we ought to look at this comprehensively and create a master plan. Okay, next one, please, Susan. So this is just the main walkways. The primary circulation routes are in the different colors, the solid lines. And you can see the primary routes go down along the southway and back to the traditional original entrance to the natural area. The new ones that's become more important is the dashed green line along the north side, and that's the one that goes into Highland Woods and then back to the natural area and the trails back there, that direction. But you can see the various dotted lines that go up to the fort. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 different ones that people use. So we really need to try to define that. And, you know, two options, probably the main option that we're looking at, but this has not been decided yet, obviously, is as you first come up the curve, where it first routes to the left, that dashed pink line that goes down, yeah, that one. That's still a slope, but it could be stepped in such a way that would be not too arduous, and you know, could be presented, and then that would be something you'd see right away, and it'd be right there, and would get us up to the readout area. So that's one potential solution to that. So please, if anybody's got any questions as we go along while we're looking at these things, speak up and we'll address them. So, okay, next one.
Gary, I just add, in the early discussions also, we thought if the views were cleared, people might be more inclined to follow that purple path
Right.
because they would have views all the way along rather than the very limited slots that they look through now.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
If they wanted to take a more leisurely route up.
Yeah. Okay. Next. Okay, there's some of the view sheds. This view here is from the top of the tower right out over everything. And you know, that tower seems, oh wow, that's, you know, that's the big deal for going up there. But you know, it's really, if the views were cleared, you know, a 12-foot tower, I mean, wouldn't be that much different than a 6-foot tower, or, you know, so, you know, there's other options with that tower that might make it more long-term, more a part of the historic interpretation with signs and so on. So you can sit at a central point and see different aspects and have, you know, the strategic, very strategic issues discussed and so on. This, the other one shows you how it's blocked. This is a winter view. That's a view south. And, you know, there's things to see down that way that if it were opened up, selectively cut and so on, would be better for both scenic value and historic interpretation value. Okay, next. And let's see, this is from the top of the tower, looking back into the fort. The area back there that's still pretty much cleared because we mow it, we brush hog it a couple times a year and so on. Here's the stone down at the bottom. That's one of the original stones. It's actually a granite interpretation of the various aspects in the scenic view, and it's again related to the war and the Battle of Rhode Island and so on. There's actually two of those. There's another one looking to the southwest in the direction through the woods there that we were looking at before. That one, unfortunately, was tipped over. It's kind of down in the woods. It can be easily brought back and remounted. So that, you know, that might be an option in terms of the master plan and what we do with those. Those are very permanent, and there's no reason to not use them. So that they would, I think, it would more than likely be integrated into the master plan.
May I say something?
Yes.
This is Donna Cook.
Oh, hi, Donna.
This is really a wonderful, detailed piece of work. My thing is that personally, going up to Fort Barton, it's been disappointing for me to have all those trees, because I used to just go up there and be able to look at the beautiful view from all sides. Now with all the trees, I noticed I couldn't see as much. And one of the things is that if it's going to be an interpretation of what was in the past, the reason for Fort Barton was that they could see the ships coming or troops coming. That all the trees takes away from the historical value that I think is important to me. Also, people that are handicapped, they need to be able to see how it was a long time ago and why they picked this area as a fort, to see everything coming at a high point before, and be prepared. So if they can't get up, if they can't see anything low, it takes away from the significance for them of why this area is so important, because they can't get up the tower. There's no way for them to get up the tower. There hasn't been, as far as I know. There's just stairs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's important for everyone, whether you're disabled or fine, whatever it is, to be able to go back in time when you go up there and see exactly how it was without all the trees in the way. That's my personal opinion, and I'll stay out of it. Thank you.
No, you have a very good point. And that's really a big part of the plan, I don't think we're thinking of making it bald like it probably was during the Revolution, but certainly removing the trees for the scenic value, and you have a real good point for the handicapped people. There's no way they're going to climb any tower, and we'll never afford an elevator to make it handicap accessible. So no, that's an excellent point, and that's definitely a key part of any landscape improvements we would make. So thanks for that comment. Okay, I guess we're ready for the next page. Okay, this is some of the view. This is showing some of the view sheds there from the tower. This is still reasonably good. Not so much from the ground, as Donna mentioned. These are the ones that are blocked now, except in the winter time. And even a view through trees in the winter time is not quite as useful, because you tend to not really, unless you're specifically looking for something, not really take the bother to try to pick out what's down there. Okay, next. Okay, see, all right, so that might be the once you just flip through, there's a big list of trees coming up that we don't need. I mean, I'm interested in it, but that's not go ahead and keep going. I think maybe that'll be pretty much it. Yeah, okay. All right, well, now can you actually we can go off of screen sharing now.
Okay.
And go back to regular discussion. You want to do that? There we go. Great. Thanks. All right. Everybody still with us here? Okay. So I'm just going to run down the issues we have. We've already talked about some of them, but we can discuss them further if you have questions or anything. Trees and brush removal. Well, we were just covering that for safety and sightline view improvement. And actually, as Donna was saying, even a little bit more return to the conditions that were there during the Revolution. So that'll certainly be given strong consideration in any plan we finally sign off on. Pedestrian safety, we mentioned that, the cliff edge, the redoubt tower, climbing. Another thing I feel like I have to mention, the tower, you know, it seems like a dramatic thing, 12 feet high, you know. But the other thing it does, which is a little bit of a negative, is it kind of invites hooliganism. Over the years, and I've been involved with the fort for 30 years. Many of the problems we've had up there is kids going up at nighttime and, you know, carving and painting, and, you know, the rest of what kids do at nighttime. So, you know, some shorter version of that might diminish that somewhat. It might make it less attractive to those kinds of things. And it hasn't been a huge problem, but it has been a problem. And so I just throw that in there.
Gary, I'd also add the tree clearing so that the site was more visible from the road, and town hall would help that situation
Absolutely.
too.
Yep. For sure. Okay, and so the next item on that list, scenic viewing area access, we pretty much worked that over well, I think. Pathways to Cine and Fleshbrook natural area. If we, if we made the path a little more prominent that goes down through Highland Woods, I think that would see more use. And at some point, I think the one thing about that stairway down on the backside is we've rebuilt it twice since I've been involved with the fort, and it's just prone to. I mean, it's pressure treated wood, so there's not any danger now, but it is a maintenance thing. And come time when it has to be rebuilt again, it's very expensive to rebuild that. And then you've got stairs all the way down, and then you go across a little wet area, and then you've got stairs all the way back up. So, and none of that is required on the route, the trailhead that goes through Highland Woods. So, there might be consideration of just, we wouldn't tear anything out that was still functional, but at some point in the future, look at possibly even closing that one in the back. Now that's just a thought. I know the people that we do have a contingent of Fort Barton users who are kind of trail runner types, and that up and down that's their thing, So, but really, when you get right down to, you could still do that on that other trail. So anyway, that's a passing thought. Protection of the redoubt earthworks, and that was already commented on. We've got to find a good way to aesthetically and attractively, without diminishing the historic nature of the earthworks, to try to discourage people climbing on the earthworks. It's a maintenance issue, and it's an aesthetic issue too, and that's going to be coming up with maybe that route we just discussed that comes off right as you get to the top, and it's very visible, it's obvious, it's a sign. And not that we would try to close the other one, because you can't. That, by the way, that paved part is really essential for driving equipment up there, and you have to drive equipment up there to do tree work, sometimes do trail work, and actually to do mowing work. Our mowing routine now is we mow the area immediately around the redoubt, and the path areas, we mow those regularly, routinely, every week or two, depending on the time of summer and so on. It slows down in late summer, obviously. And then once a year, we take a brush hog up there and we clean off the brush and so on in the other areas that are not treed, but are need to be maintained. So that also falls in with, if we start removing a significant number of trees, it would actually make maintenance easier. rather than going around all those trees and so on. It would be, and maintenance is, our budget is not huge. So we could never afford to mow the whole thing weekly unless we got a big, huge budget, a significant budget increase. But it would help with maintenance quite a bit, I think. So protection of the earthworks, the observation tower, I think we've done that. In historic interpretation, we really have a lot of opportunity to make that a lot better. I think we can take a look down the hill and across the road there at what's on the Stone Bridge, and we can look at that kind of interpretation, visual illustrations and so on, and really make that an attractive. People don't really appreciate how important Fort Barton was, and there's actually a recorded comment that Washington made I don't have his exact words and so on, said that if Fort Barton, if the Battle of Rhode Island had been a big success, it could have shortened the war. I mean, everything happened after that because Fort Barton was, if they were given us really a smashing defeat there, which was possible. So it faded in the war because the war moved to the south. Actually, Fort Barton in Colonel Barton's capture of the general down there, that was a huge matter of American history up until the Civil War. I mean, it was in all the grade school history books and everything because it was such a dramatic thing. Civil War came, and then other wars, and it kind of faded into the background. But that is a great story, and that could be told with historic interpretation. So I think I would now open the floor to anyone who has other ideas or questions or additions from anyone.
I have another question. How safe is it with the cliff and the trees and the granite that's disintegrating for people to use the parking below Fort Barton? I kind of worry about my car when I park there.
I think it's there's a lot of, one thing we will not remove is all the brush and stuff that's on the side of the hill because that stuff is, I don't think there are small little pieces that come off of it, and sometimes the rooting of the trees and so on might cause a little bit of that. But I think since they put those barriers there so that you're not right under it, I think the more risk I would see is in a great big tall tree that's up there. We have a couple of them that are pretty big, and if the wind was just right, it would blow them down that direction. Now the roots would probably hang on to them, and it would just be the top of the tree. But I don't personally see that, as long as they keep those barriers up and you don't park right under the tree, during a big storm. Of course, if you had a hurricane, you're talking something totally different. But I really don't. I don't feel that that's. I've climbed around on that, and there's little bits of stone, but they just come rattling down the hill behind the barriers. So that would be my comment. But good question.
Gary, do you think there's potentially grant money available for some of these, implementing some of these improvements in the future?
Oh God, I think we get a good master plan going, and with we have a guy on the commission that is I think he's about 32-0 win losses in writing grants. So I'd say it'd be a slam dunk if we get a good, and Sarah Bradford, I have the greatest amount of confidence that she'll put together a beautiful plan that's attractive and, you know, practical at the same time. So yeah, that's the whole idea of doing this, and especially now with all the money that's coming out of Washington. So
It would clearly fit into recreation grants that the state does periodically. But there'd also be opportunities for smaller grants, I think, for groups that have historic interest. And a lot of those groups are aware of Fort Barton's significance.
one thing about Fort Barton is, I mean, we've already seen this in the town with the overwhelming support that the town came out with for the dog park over at the library and the playground down at the town farm and so on. Not that I'm counting on that. I don't think we will need to. I mean, and we've spent money on the master plan. That's not a huge amount of money, and we'll need to match it. But I really am confident that we can put together something that's going to not cost the town, you know, a worrisome amount of budget money. I mean, we always have to match to some extent, but that can be done with in kind, and we're already investing in the plan. So I think it'll be a slam dunk, really.
Do you have any idea, Gary, like in the ballpark, what the cost might be?
I really don't. Part of the grant specifications is for them to come up with an estimate of, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be, you know, in the tens of thousands. I mean, just clearing the trees is going to be, you know, a significant chunk of money. So we're talking some serious money here. I know that means different amounts to different people, but so I don't want to pin a number on it.
And it depends on the ultimate solution for those circulation issues. You know, what kind of fencing is where, what kind of grading and improvements need to be made. Those can add up.
Well, we'll have, I mean, before we finish the plan, you know, we'll work through those kinds of things to, you know, we might say, well, an elevator up to the tower, probably we should scratch that one. Of course, I'm being funny there, but we'll certainly not just say, you know, the door's open to anything that we would like to have, but there'll be, the master plan will include an estimated bottom line to accomplish everything in the master plan.
Yeah, I know when I was looking at the master plan earlier, there was, because I was thinking, because I work with people with disabilities, would there be any kind of way, and I know that the geography there is tough, and it did say that it really could not be fully handicap accessible, just because of the terrain. But it is too bad, but that's the reality of the land.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one. That always comes up when we talk about anything at Fort Barton. Is there any way?
Right.
I know that the Highland Woods master plan basically said, forget it. I mean, they said it in very diplomatic language, but it's a lot better. It's a lot better now than it was going up that back way or the side way. So.
Yeah.
I'd also add that the goal of this is to establish a long-term vision. So we don't have to do everything at once either, as far as funding goes. You know, it might be some tree clearing and pruning to start, and then fences or historic interpretation a little later. Doesn't all have to happen at once. And it'll be something that'll guide us for a long time, like the condition, status, and ultimate decision on the tower.
Right.
Might not be for 10 or 15 or 20 years.
Well,
All
it's,
right.
it's also something to keep in mind because we are getting money from the state and from the federal government, and the wording is vague, but it's specific, if that makes any sense. So it's trying to fit in what our needs are or what our wants are into the categories of the monies that come to us. And I'm not sure that there's anything that would fit this need, but it's always worth the ask and to keep it in mind and, put it in the forefront of people. It's worth asking. All we can say, is no, it's not appropriate for that, but it's worth the ask.
Yep.
I think the other thing that's been revealed to us in the last 2 years is the incredible value inherent in open space and natural areas and historic areas, because when people didn't have an option of going to indoor spaces, where were they going? They were in Fort Barton, they were in Weedema Woods and over at Barton Gray. So I think that it obviously serves a need across generations. And to your point, Deb, it's unfortunate that the terrain doesn't lend itself to better access for people who are handicapped. But I know that there are even advances in that. Someone today was telling me about something about freedom bicycles, where a handicapped person can actually get better access to paths and trails than once was ever, we ever thought was possible. So trying to have, as Brian pointed out, the long-term view and then chunk this into manageable projects or parts and get the funding accordingly. I mean, I think that's my sense from the Open Space Commission is that's our vision. We want to know what the plan is, but we want to be flexible and we want to keep moving this forward because it is a unique resource in our community. So that's sort of what I see happening.
And it keeps with the character of our town too. So that's really important.
True.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I was just wondering if the Highland, I don't know the exact name of it, Highland Woods, or that seems to be a way to come in the back around and get to Fort Barton. How is the incline to that? Is it just a slow, steady up? I don't know. I haven't been in the Highland Woods that connects. I haven't been there yet, so I don't know where there could be a path that someone could use with a wheelchair to actually be pushed to Fort Barton.
It would still be not a. We talked about this before you checked in. There is a trail back through Highland Woods. It's a lot easier than the trail up the driveway.
That's tough to get up there when you're okay.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of the arguments for the land trust acquiring Highland Woods. And it is a gentler path around there, and it's much easier. But a wheelchair would still it's easier, but it would still be a bit of a challenge just because of the length of it. I mean, if the trail were dressed or smoothed in some way, or even asphalted, that might make it possible, but it'd still be a challenge.
Yeah, I always thinking of asphalt, but I just worry that the more asphalt ruins ruins the historic look of the whole place.
The
incline there doesn't allow, if you were to look at ADA guidelines for slope, you can't achieve it, even on a gentler incline and back.
Right.
Okay.
You could do an extensive switchback system, maybe.
Yeah, but I don't know how many people are going to do that, and I have to go along with what Gail said with the people being stuck in their homes. And honestly, when I went past Whittemore Woods one time, I thought they were going to need a cop to let people in and out. I couldn't believe there were so many people there.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty funny.
They probably weren't socially distancing, right?
People that never went before were there. I'm like, where's the cop? I mean, it was like 100 cars. Like, couldn't believe it. It was funny.
Okay, folks, if there's no other questions or comments, I think we can adjourn. I appreciate your comments, and we look forward to moving ahead with this project.
Thank you for including us, Gary. This was very educational, and it really brought the report to life just hearing about it.
Good, good. All right.